Let's look at Fubo. Is it a buy or a sell? First off, read this disclaimer carefully. And do your good deed of the day by liking and subscribing. So we go to the megatrends, and there's a theme called streaming. The streaming theme is up 33% from the 52-week low, but minus 65% away from the highs. And Fubo TV is here. They are in the video streaming business. 46% from the low, but minus 90% away from the highs. So this is the experience when you go to Fubo.tv and you are in Norway. So this is very amateurish for them because they have investors. So as an investor, it's very difficult here to get information. So this is just very much rookie hour. This is the chart from the IPO. It's definitively down big. When we zoom in a bit, we do see that here on the weeklies, there is some kind of rounding-ish bottom behavior. This looks a lot like a bit of a textbook rounding a bottom, where we go from systematic pessimism to potentially, well, currently we have more systematic agnosticism, but maybe in the future we will have systematic bullish behavior. When we zoom in a bit here, we do see that this purple 20-week moving average was resistance, but we are currently testing it as here support. When we go here to the daily data points, we have another very important moving average, the green 50-day moving average. It was very buyable back there, very shortable back here. If we measure from the previous time where it functioned as support here, so if you bought the 50-day here, you could potentially get a 181% gain. Does that mean that we will then see the same thing now? Obviously, we don't know. We know for a fact that it happened very recently. That is something the bears also know. So bears who have been making money shorting Fubo, who from these highs are looking at minus 58% gain, some of they might get very trigger happy to close out their shorts if they do see that the 50-day turns into support. So it's very important for the bulls to push this support level, because that could very quickly lead to a bit of a short squeeze. Now, looking at these other indicators, accumulation distribution is very weak. MACD sell signal here. The distance from the 20-day PPO, it's at a level that is a bit bullish, a bit buyable, but not like extremely. So I write 50 daily moving average support as the entry signal. That is also the stop loss level. I give the technicals a 5 here in favor of the bulls. It is all about really that 50-day holding. It would be very good for the bulls. And it would be very intimidating for the bears, because when they look back at the last time it functioned as support, it was not a good time to be a bear. So there is a setup here for a potential short squeeze. Here is the seasonality data to the right. We don't have enough years to get a calculation. To the left here, we do see that over the last 5 years, September is, well, it only closes higher at 20% of the time, but on average, there's a 3.1% gain, and October is rather strong. Over the last 7 years, we can see that September is one of the weakest months in terms of how often we close higher than we open. But October is one of the, relatively speaking, strongest months for Fubo. So it means that September could be a very good time for the bears to exit their positions, because October is potentially rather dangerous. We have very little data here, but the data we do have is more interesting for bulls than bears. Let's look at the fundamentals. So here on SACS, we have a number 3 hold, F value degrowth, but we do have A momentum. Industry rank bottom 15%, broadcast radio and television. Market cap 626 million US dollars. Very high beta at 3.26. Yeah, let's look at what the insiders are doing. So the latest move here from the insiders are very bullish. They are accumulating shares. That is good to see. It means that they think that it is undervalued. And this here was back, in June. So looking at the consensus estimates, we have 8 analysts covering the stock. 83% average upward price target. Highest is 137% above us, while the lowest is 48. The lowest price target is 48% above us. I think I will give the bulls a 4 here on the fundamentals. There are some interesting signs here. Now let's look at relative performance. Here we have long-term correlations. 33% here with the S&P 500, 34% with the technology ETF XLK. Then we have 46% here with the XLI, which is the consumer discretionary ETF. Daily data points, 82% S&P 500, 85% with the tech ETF. Then we have 82% here with, 83% frankly, with the consumer discretionary ETF. The binge ETF here is a pure play streaming online-ish ETF. But we don't have enough data here to get a correlation. And it's not a good idea to really change these numbers, because then you don't get, an apples to apples comparison. Looking long and short term, the strongest correlation we do get here is with the XLI, as you can see, especially here when we take into account the long term. So XLI, what happens to the XLI is going to have a significant effect on Fubo. So here is the long-term chart. We have a rounding top pattern. Going to the dailies, we are testing this green 50-day moving average. You see that there's been a bit of a battle here. The bears have tried now here on the 1st of September to really push us below that moving average. The bulls were able to sort of close us around that moving average on Friday, but it's a battleground for sure. Looking at these other indicators, there's a lot of noise here. Here is Fubo against the streaming ETF BNGE. Let's go here to the dailies like that. So we can see that Fubo has recently underperformed the ETF significantly. Yeah, the relationship between these two is just messy. There's nothing really. It's messy. I don't really like messy setups. Let's quickly look here at Fubo against XLK, long term. We are seeing this rounding bottom formation here as well. Going here to the dailies, it's interesting, but here you do see a bit of a breakdown as of late here against the XLK. But there is a possibility that this could turn into what is called a cup and a handle pattern, which is a bullish technical pattern. I think I will give the bears a -2 here on relative performance. There's some noise here that could complicate the 50 daily moving average support level. So it's all about that 50 daily moving average. We do have a 2.5 here in favor of the bulls. So there is more reason to be bullish than bearish. It's just that the bulls have a lot to prove, and the bears have a pretty strong hand, but I think there's more reasons to expect the bears to get into trouble now than the bulls, potentially at least. So we have some time left, so let's look at some of the other stocks in the streaming and online. What is the name? It's BNGE. Yeah, so here is the name: First Trust Streaming and Gaming ETF. So it is a bit broad. So first here on the list is Netflix, a very well-known player in the streaming business. Yeah, we have seen a very brutal sell-off. This was, one of the fangs. So all people back here were like, "Oh, nothing bad can happen to Netflix." Boom. So we have seen a bit of a rebound, but then we are seeing the bears in action again. So you can see here this purple 20-day moving average. It's currently the key level to watch. And so far, it's just very easy for the bears to just short it. So that's an issue. So there's definitively a lot of noise here with the Netflix, because the bulls are really trying to break above that 20-day moving average. Then again, the bears are going back at it, but the bears are not really making big money either. So let's look at the money bears are making, shorting the 20-day moving average. So here you have like 4 or 5% here. In this case, well, let's take this one. 4% max gain. In this case, you would be down to 1% gain. Now you would be back at 3.5-ish% gain. So yeah. The next in the ETF is Disney. Here we have also seen this is strong rebound, but then some pullback. Yeah, nothing really in particular here happening with the daily data points and TA. Let's look here at these other indicators. Yeah, let's go to the dailies. Yeah, just a bit noisy. I do prefer some clean signals, either bullish or bearish. AMD is actually a part of this CTF. So ever since this high back here in it is November of 2021, we have seen lower highs and lower lows here for AMD. So that is the very definition of a downtrend. Yeah, here as well, it's just not really that constructive. Looking at these daily data points, the RSI is interesting. We are pretty close to this low RSI level that was very viable back here. If you look back here, this low RSI level, it was viable. So, and also the distance between price and the purple 20-day moving average reflected through this PPO, we are at a level that historically has been somewhat viable. Here is NVIDIA. So NVIDIA is very interesting because we are very close to testing an extremely important moving average. This red 200-week moving average has been very viable in the past. We are racing towards it. So let's calm down Bitdefender a bit here. When it comes to password management, the most secure place to store your passwords is to print the password, like literally on paper, delete the file, and put it in a document that you have in like at a local bank. That is the safest thing. It is completely impossible, hence, to hack my passwords because I literally have them on paper. Literally. No internet whatsoever. Yeah, so the distance here down to the 200-week, it is 5%. So if you were to like buy it now, contingent on, on the assumption of the 200-week holding, you are starting off with a bit of a wide-ish stop level. But the key level to watch is definitively this red 200-week moving average. Yeah, on the dailies here, it's just not looking that good. If you look here at these other indicators, the RSI is it is actually at a historically interesting level here on the weeklies. Also here, this green 50-week PPO. On the dailies, yeah, this is an interesting level. That doesn't mean it can't go lower. It means that historically speaking, this has not been a favorable time to add to a bearish trade. So we have looked at Fubo, and we have also looked at some other components of the binge ETF. There are some interesting developments here. I think there are more bullish opportunities, well, at least setups, than bearish. Um, but for a bullish trade to work, there simply needs to be more buyers than sellers, and that is definitively to be determined.